Hey, welcome back to the Comic Cosmos, and Stargirl Season 1 has just passed over the halfway mark with Episode 7, named Shiv Part 1, where we see a new age of supervillains rise. And of course, if you haven't watched the episode, well then what are you doing here? Because of course there'll be spoilers on Episode 7 and all the previous episodes. So the previous episode really fully established the new JSA as they went on their first sort of mission, I guess, where they on the most part got caught off guard. I mean, they got a few punches in, and then at the end, Stripe came and basically saved them from Sportsmaster and Tigress. But also, although not fully on board, he realizes that he has to help them, as they're never going to stop. So at the end of episode 6, we find out that the Injustice Society need Brainwave, or at least his powers, in their grand plan, named Project New America. So the start of the episode shows the new JSA feeling really good about themselves, and we see that they really have changed throughout this, as Yolanda is much more happy and Beth has friends other than her parents. And I wonder what they'll think if they ever find out what she's actually doing. So they're walking through school JSA style, and then Cindy Berman bumps into Courtney, and it kind of hints to those who don't already know that she's going to play a part in this episode. So at breakfast in the morning, which I need to mention that for quite a few episodes now we have got a morning breakfast scene after the title card, which gets to show us the effects of the previous episode's fight or cliffhanger. So we see Mike and Barbara are getting a little bit more suspicious about what Pat and Courtney are actually doing, and this is definitely the closest they've gotten to being caught. I wonder if this may actually be a foreshadowing that they will find out, especially because of the cliffhanger at the end of the episode. It will be quite hard for Pat to cover up what actually happened to Courtney. We then go back to the hospital where Cindy is visiting Henry, and we see that she is a really horrible person and doesn't even care about Henry or his dad, and just wants to know if he will be still going to homecoming with her. We see Henry is still confused and sort of thinks he has some sort of powers. Maybe he remembers that his father used to test him to see if he could read his mind, as he says he thinks he can will his father to wake up. Later in the episode, his powers actually rarely start working as he cheats in a test, which I thought was a pretty cool way of revealing that he could hear people's thoughts. So Cindy just isn't really having a good day at all, as we see Henry doesn't want to go with her to homecoming, and later on we find that she's actually forced to go out with him, which I'll come back to later. She also has a fight with her friend, and then we get a little tease, which actually kind of paid off at the end of the episode, which was when Courtney and Cindy actually have a little talks and run-ins with janitor Justin, who, if you haven't heard the leaks, you'll still maybe thought there was something more to him, as he got a little more screen time than just a normal janitor usually would. We then see him straighten out a picture of a Pegasus, and then see his enchanted sword in his janitor closet, which he uses at the end. The next part of the episode is very interesting and almost surprising, as Courtney and Cindy almost become friends, or at least we still see she has a little bit of good left in her at that stage. So they're in science class and they get partnered up with each other, both hesitant at the start. And we see Cindy flex her chemistry skills, as her father obviously is a chemist, and it kind of hints that she's not normal, as she says her father left the chemicals out and open on purpose, so yeah, kinda weird. They actually make plans to meet up during homecoming, as Cindy won't be going, and I thought that that may have been actually quite an interesting thing, and actually thought that this would be how Courtney found out about Cindy's secret, but we didn't get this, but it would be interesting to think what would have happened. Cindy then goes home to her stepmother, I guess you could call it, who we learn actually keeps getting replaced, and Cindy's father reveals that he has to condition them, I think he says. So I don't know if they're getting brainwashed or something like that, but that's something interesting going on there. So we see that she is waiting nervously for her, and Cindy obviously very rude to her, and basically we see that she can get whatever she wants, as she can threaten her that if she doesn't do what she says, bad things will happen to her. Cindy then opens a locked door, which we see actually leads to the ISA HQ, which is connected to the American Dream, her house, and we later see Blue Valley High School as well, and possibly Icicle's home, or any other places in Blue Valley. And it is very big, as it holds her father, Dragon King's lab. And I think it's pretty cool that the HQ is like a underground massive lair under Blue Valley, as everything is literally happening under everyone's noses. We then hear the Injustice Society members talking about Stargirl and the other members of the JSA, and Larry's talking about how the JSA members are all just kids, and he suggests that they bring their kids into the ISA to help them find the new members. But obviously a few are a little hesitant, so it'll be interesting to see, or even if, for example, Artemis Croc or Isaac Bowen take on their comic book roles. But for now at least, I guess Shiv and possibly Henry are the only child members of the ISA for now. Cindy then confronts her father, who is obviously Dragon King, and tells him that she wants to be part of the Injustice Society, and basically she wants to stop just pretending to be a normal kid. And as we find out, she wants to break up with Henry, but the ISA needs Brainwave's powers, and they think Henry Jr. may have his father's powers if his father doesn't wake up in time. We then learn that Cindy got her powers from her dad, who experimented on her, and even calls her his greatest experiment, which kind of makes you feel bad for her, as she doesn't really have a normal life at all, and was kind of born for this very reason. She also kind of resents her dad, and also wants to disagree and rebel, which I guess is kind of natural for teenagers, but it is very different when you have knives coming out of your wrists. We then see Pat taking the JSA to his garage, where we see he has a sort of back area where he keeps Stripe, and he made the models of the Injustice Society members to teach them how to use their abilities and tell them about the members of the ISA, and how to deal with them. And of course they think they're ready, and especially Courtney, who just ruins the teamwork the team had in the beginning of the episode, as she just wants to go on the next mission, as she thinks she's ready and doesn't really care about if everyone else still needs to train using their new abilities. Pat then talks to her, and we get like a back and forth between Courtney and Cindy, and we see they are kind of going through the same thing, where they think they're ready and just want to rush into things, and their fathers, or stepfather in Courtney's case, don't think they're ready, and want them to wait until they're ready, and they want them to train. I really did enjoy this scene. I think it was a fun one to foreshadow how the both of them go out on their own, and that really doesn't work out for either of them. Pat then takes Mike and Courtney out to a football game, where we see that Mike is actually worried because he thinks that Courtney is spending so much time with Pat that she is trying to take him or spend more time with him than Mike. And Courtney does feel bad, and I wonder if he would feel different if he knew what they were really doing. We then see Cameron, aka Icicle's son, ask Courtney to homecoming, which will be interesting to see this, presumably next episode. So this obviously makes her cancel her plans with Cindy, which really just sends Cindy over the edge of acting out rashly. And at this moment, it's kind of like she loses the little bit of good that she had in her and goes down to suit up at the Injustice Society HQ. Courtney just gets tired of sitting around, and she actually follows Principal Bowen, who she suspects is the fiddler, and really seems that Courtney never learns to call for help, or at least tell Pat what she is doing. So we see her follow Principal Bowen down into the ISA headquarters, which seems to be a confusing set of tunnels, and even bigger than we recently even thought. And it seems to actually just lead Courtney back up through a locker, which shows that the school is kind of like a focal point in the Injustice Society's plan, as they have so many passages all over the school. So we see Sydney, who is down in the ISA HQ, and she sees the security cameras of Stargirl walking around, and she wants to really prove herself to her father that she's ready to be part of the ISA, and this obviously leads her to attack Courtney as Shiv. And one thing that's really interesting is she actually doesn't have a mask or anything covering her face, so she doesn't really care about protecting her identity. But I guess it is nice to know so we can see who she really is, or at least Courtney can. So in this fight, we see Courtney blow off Sydney's face with the cosmic staff, and we see that it just like molds back and regenerates over the like robotics sort of thing underneath. And Courtney realizes that she's in a lot of trouble now. She sort of basically gets the better of Stargirl, and this will obviously make Courtney rethink that she is unstoppable, and she kind of gets what's coming for her. She went in thinking that she could do anything, and without help or anything. So before Shiv can actually finish Stargirl off for good, Courtney is actually saved by Janitor Justin with his sword, and Courtney then passes out, and Janitor Justin walks away as Pat comes in, as Pat was led there by the Cosmic Staff, which I thought was a pretty cool little scene when the Cosmic Staff tries to alert Pat. We then see that he actually recognizes Pat and says Stripesy, so he obviously knows something, and it'll be exciting to see him revealed who he really is later in the season, or maybe even next episode, who knows. So it ends with Pat holding Courtney, who's very badly hurt, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next episode, which is a carry-on Shiv Part 2. And also if Barbara and Mike actually find out, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know how they really could come up with a good excuse. And Cindy's storyline will also be interesting to follow with her father and the other members of the ISA, and what they'll do in regards to this. I mean, I really did enjoy this episode, and definitely one of my favorites, if not my favorite. And the show just really just seems to be getting better and better as the season goes on, and I can't wait to see what happens next, and how this whole thing plays out. So thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed, and it would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe, and drop a comment down below on any Easter eggs or details you think we missed, as well as any theories or thoughts you have on the episode. Until next time, Cheers.